All right, welcome in everyone. You're watching another episode of Unsolved Upstate. I'm Kelci O'Donnell alongside veteran anchor and reporter Gordon Dill for another case that we're going to take a look into several years in the making. We're going to Anderson County this week.
Don't think I don't catch that veteran means old. I'll accept it, but I caught it.
So is this case.
So this case is old. Let's go back to 2001. This is a summer party in 2001, June 26. We're going to talk about a 29-year-old woman named Jennifer Lawson, someone who had no idea what was about to happen to her. In fact, we use a cliche a lot, wrong place, wrong time. We're going to use that very specifically for this case when you hear the details of how this woman died at a party in Anderson County. And to get those details, Kelci, let's bring in our investigator here. This is Corey Smith from the Anderson County Sheriff's Office. Join us. Corey, you are on a cold case unit that has been studying this Jennifer Lawson case, and this one, boy, you could use all the help you can get.
Yes, and thank you guys for having us on. So on June 24th, 2001, Jennifer Lynn Lawson was a 29-year-old female from the Belton area. She had her whole life ahead of her. She went to a house party on Camelot Forest Drive. She had arrived there earlier in the night. From all accounts that we have, the party was small in the beginning, good time. Everybody was kind of hanging out, having a good time. The party grew throughout the night. Word of mouth kind of spread. We had people come from not only Belton, but outside of the Belton area. And we have witness accounts that say that there were people not only in the rear of the residence, there was people on the sides, there were people in front, there were people inside. Later on that evening, there were 3 males that came to the location. We believe that they are not from the Belton area. These 3 males arrived in what witnesses describe as a dark-colored sedan. They exited. They stayed in the front of the party for most of it. They were there for approximately an hour or so, and there was a verbal dispute that started. We have different reports on what that dispute was, but at one point, one of the males brandished a firearm. He racked the gun, and at that point, everybody at the party started to run for cover. People were diving behind cars, trees, any object that they could find.
Makes sense, yeah.
To kind of get themselves safe. The males were asked to leave, obviously, and the males entered the vehicle and pulled the car a little bit up from the residence. At that time, a single gunshot was fired. That gunshot traveled through the shoulder of an individual that was at the party and exited him, went through the wall of the residence, and struck Jennifer in the head one time. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Every indication that we have is that Jennifer had zero to do with the outside altercation. We don't even think she knew about it. And like you said, wrong place, wrong time gets used an awful lot. But this truly is a case where she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She has no criminal history. She didn't have any issue with anybody at the party that night. And unfortunately, the reckless actions of these individuals cost her her life.
Yeah, and this here is a look at the scene back in 2001. So we're talking over 20 years ago. Let me pull it up full screen here so you can get an idea. This was a summer night. Looked pretty clear. You can see the crime scene tape there. We had to do some digging ourselves to even find some of this footage because it's really not a case that's well known in the community.
It's not. There's not a whole lot of newspaper articles on it. I've had a few in the case file. Obviously, these cases mattered to the people in those communities, the people that knew Jennifer. But our goal is to obviously get the word out and bring justice to Jennifer and her remaining family members.
Jennifer Lawson deserves justice in this case. And in addition to this video, Kelci, and I'm glad you mentioned, to find this video was a task. And when we looked it up, Jennifer Lawson's name was not in the coverage of it. If you Google search Jennifer Lawson and Jennifer Lawson, Anderson County, her name is not coming up, which is why it is so important that we're talking about it here today with you, Corey, as part of this, with you at home who can watch and see this woman's picture and maybe give us some clue to push us in the right direction. Kelci, I know you have a bunch of photographs of the scene. So let's walk through what Corey was showing us here. So this is inside, and if you back up one here, you can see where that bullet fired from outside enters the outside of this trailer here from the yard where I guess the driveway, here it is. So this is, Corey, I assume, a single, 9mm shot through the wall?
Yeah, it was a smaller caliber. The picture that is up on the screen is actually the ballistic sticks that our forensics people use to show the trajectory of the round that was fired. I mean, as you can see, it's a single shot, and
at this point had already gone through another person's shoulder.
That's correct.
Right?
There was another individual that was at the party who suffered a gunshot wound that went through and through on his shoulder. And again, we talked about the wrong place, wrong time. If Jennifer was 6 inches one way or the other, she's still with her family. And it's just a complete reckless act that cost a young woman her life.
But to walk through it here, so the car's in the driveway, and it's nighttime, so I can understand why people would say brown or maroon.
Then go back
right?
to the house
it's
photo.
a dark colored sedan.
So they fire one round from a handgun. It goes through the shoulder of the person who I think is the homeowner there?
He was at the party.
The host of someone at the party. Goes through the shoulder, through the wall of the trailer, and hits Jennifer Lawson in another room of the trailer, killing her. A single bullet.
Yes.
Wow.
I don't think, a horror story writer could write something like that that people would believe and say, no, there's no way that happened. That's a Hollywood story. It's not. It's real life. And you have family of Jennifer that wants answers and deserves answers.
Yeah. Talking about that night, it seemed as though from witness accounts when we were speaking with you guys, that it started pretty calm. Like people were just hanging out and having a good time. And then kind of through word of mouth, this thing grew much bigger. And then all of a sudden, 3 men show up and the night takes a turn.
Yeah. I know, we live in a day of social media but for a party to get as big as that did, just word of mouth was kind of unheard of, but we have witness statements that say, I was at another bar and somebody came up to me and said, hey, do you want to go to this party over in Belton? And that's what people did. And unfortunately, some of the wrong individuals caught wind of this party and ended up there.
Do you have an idea of how many people were at that party?
We're getting various accounts from witnesses. Obviously, you talk to witnesses, some people say 50, some people say 100, some people say more than that. I know they weren't doing a head count, but the party definitely grew larger than what the intention was. I don't think it was made or advertised, hey, everybody from Anderson County and outside of Anderson County, hey, come to Belton and hang out at this party.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what the intention was at all. The homeowner, the person that threw the party, I think wanted to have some people over and people that he knew from Belton and that surrounding area, and it kind of just grew.
Yeah, right. So as far as these photos go, we're looking at the crime scene, some investigators, how grainy, how old some of these photos are. Is that a challenge for you guys with it being from 2001 and trying to dig up new leads now, 20 plus years later?
It can be, especially, we live in an age where technology it's at the forefront of policing, video surveillance and everything else that we have at our fingertips. There is no video surveillance.
Yeah.
And with some of these cases, especially with these cold cases, you get back into, it's kind of a cliche term, but you get back into old-fashioned police work where you have to start from ground zero and you got to work your way up. And I think that with cold cases and older cases like this, time, it can hurt us, but I think it can help us in a way. I think that people's, where they are in their lives changes over 24 years, 25 years, where you're running around as a crazy 22, 23-year-old. Now you're a parent now. You're a professional, you're a grandparent maybe. I think people's perspectives change also over time, and you know, they get out of whatever unsavory life they might have been in, and now they're in a different spot in their life, and a lot of times people do want to come forward and talk.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that we're talking about 2001 and that's 20 plus years ago. Taking a look now, I'll pull up a map here of just the difference of how things have changed. You said Camelot Forest Drive was the area that it happened. We've got this pulled up here in the middle. I'll take a full screen here. And you guys have been out here.
Yes.
Obviously investigating over the years. It has changed quite a bit.
It has.
Yeah, but talk to me about this specific location and what it's been like going back out to this area.
I mean, when you go out to these old scenes, you know, you try to put yourself back into 2001 or whatever year it was, and you know, the landscape has changed. You know, it's a little bit more developed over there. There's some, you know, newer houses that have been built, but you know, the footprint is still there as far as where this party took place. And I think, you know, where it was right by the refinery, and you have the oil tanks and everything, I think that's important, because there might be people that, oh, I don't know that address, but oh, I remember going to a party and it was right there, and that might alone spark a memory of, or somebody says, hey, I remember that party now. So, you know, the landscape, yes, it changes a little bit, and there's some more development going on, but the actual footprint's still there, and you know, you just hope that somebody's willing to come forward with any kind of information, especially with cases like these.
Let's drill down on these suspects. So you're talking about three, I'm going to say young men, presumably?
Yes, three men.
Who show up at this party, maybe not connected to anybody who was at this party, but you're one shot fired, three people. So at least two of these people did not fire the shot, and we can assume that nobody in that car was trying to shoot Jennifer Lawson. So there is sort of an accidental, this got out of hand for these three young men involved in this.
To a certain extent, I think that anytime you pull a firearm in a situation like that and you shoot, there's consequences to that.
They shot into a crowd.
Yes,
I mean,
and did it get out of hand? Probably. I mean, obviously, the easy solution is when you're asked to leave, you leave. There was no need for this, and senseless is obviously the first word that comes to mind. There's got to be consequences for actions like this, and that's why, you know, taking a look at cases like this and, you know, asking for the public's help, you have to have some sort of shred of decency to if you know anything, you want to come forward, because she didn't deserve to die.
Absolutely.
Definitely not. I think what I'm getting at is, you know, there's a getaway involving three young males here. Obviously, they're trying to get away from the scene of a murder. The odds that there's a what has happened, what have we done, oh my God, talking amongst each other, they have to have talked to someone else. They have to have gone home and said, you're not going to believe what happened when me and X and Y went to a party. There has to have been conversation, not only among the actual shooter, but three people? There must be exponentially more people who have heard what happened that night.
And I'm sure there was conversation. Whether or not they knew that Jennifer died that night, I don't know. I'm sure there was a discussion that was had. And at the end of the day, like you said, there was three people in that car. We know that one of them pulled the trigger. But all three of them hold some sort of responsibility for this. Because if you weren't the shooter, then you know who was. So, you know, I think not telling or not coming forward or, you know, not having any kind of remorse as far as, hey, my buddy or my ex-buddy did something really bad and not coming forward. I think that's just as bad as being the person who actually pulls the trigger. So
it's hard to wrap your head around that. Somebody has for 24 years now gone to bed every night knowing that maybe they killed somebody and keeping that in. That's why I always think sooner or later people talk, you know?
Yeah, and that's, again, like I said, you know, you hope that people are in different spots than they were 24 years ago. you know, that you hope that either they come forward or, you know, call and give us a tip, or, you know, arrange to speak to, you know, myself and my partner. Like, that's got to be a heavy burden for anybody to carry, you know, for 24 years, knowing that, you know, either you knew who killed Jennifer or you had information that would help us lead us to who killed Jennifer. Like, to me, that would seem like a burden you would want to get off of your conscience and off your chest.
Yeah, and Gordon, you made a good note before we hopped on here and started recording. Jennifer would have been in her 50s. Mm-hmm. She had a whole life to live. She was 29 years old and went to this party. And I mean, that's got to tug on the heartstrings of some people out there.
Yeah, and I just sat down with her stepfather earlier this week, myself and my partner, and you know, he's not getting any younger, and you know, he's grateful that we're looking at her case. But he wants justice, and he deserves justice. You know, I think, you know, he should be given the opportunity to make his impact statement and explain to these individuals how much Jennifer meant to their family, their friends, and because of their senseless violence, they took that all away from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You've got the case file with you. We're not going to go through it page by page here, but you mentioned old-fashioned detective work. So when a crime like this happens, and we've shown the video, here it is. Thank you, Kelci. Of all the law enforcement that is there, not only are they looking for forensic evidence, but I imagine step one is, let's identify every person who was at this party, get an individual statement from them, exactly where were you, what did you see, when did you see an argument, and what was it about? Right. None of that has yielded any leads as to who these shooters are?
So when I first looked at the case, and I had somebody ask me, you know, why this case, why now? And you know, when you go through these cold cases and you start reading them, and this one in particular, when I read it and my partner read it, there's certain things that, as you read it, jumped off the pages. Mm-hmm. There was some good police work that was done on this, and unfortunately, in the way of the world of policing, you might be able to work this for, you know, a week, a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then now a fresh one comes in, and unfortunately your time has to get divvied up. But there was some stuff in the case file, some interviews, some information that's in there that really jumped off the page to us, and you know, I think is definitely helping point us in the right direction to some more information.
Can you say what that is? What's jumping off the page to you? So without ruining the case.
Yeah, so, and that's the tough part. And I think, you know, with any investigation, whether it's a 24-year-old homicide or a fresh homicide, there's going to be certain things that we as investigators know, and the only other person that knows that is the person that commits that crime. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to keep that close to the vest, because when we get an individual in the interview room, if we say, hey, we know about X, Y, and Z, and that hasn't been public information, you can see a visceral reaction to them. Mm-hmm. You can see their body react, and you see their mind start to spin and try to figure out a way of how they're going to get out of it. So I think there's some of that in this case that is very specific to this case. Mm-hmm. And you know, hopefully with the public's assistance, we will be able to cash those cards in, and I want to see that reaction. I want to be able to go to Jennifer's stepfather and shake his hand and say, we got him.
Yeah, we want that.
We want to help. Detective Corey Smith is joining us now. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we want to talk more about a new cold case unit and also how you guys can help kind of crack down on this case, why we're doing this, and hopefully generate some new leads. So, Gordon, we will take a short break, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
Welcome back, Unsolved Upstate, a show I keep trying to call Upstate Unsolved. I apologize for the 30 times I've gotten it wrong. Kelci, while we are joined today by the Anderson County Sheriff's Office, we do have an opportunity here today to talk a little bit more, not just about the case we are featuring today, but as you know, Kelci, they are doing a lot more work on cold cases in general.
Absolutely. All these agencies are across different jurisdictions. Corey Smith joined us earlier. He's a detective with the Anderson County Sheriff's Office. And Corey, you guys have an exciting new unit you've rolled out, a cold case unit, and you're really taking a hard look at these cases from, gosh, I can't even put a timeline on it, but many years in the making. Talk to us about that new unit and how really it's going to impact this community.
I mean, we're excited to get started. When I came to the Sheriff's Office, I had spent my last 4 years of my career in the NYPD in the cold case unit, and I was lucky enough to sit down with Sheriff McBride and some of the command staff and, spoke about cold cases, and we finally have gotten the okay to go ahead and start the unit. And I think having a dedicated cold case unit is a huge advantage to trying to get to solve some of these cases where this is all myself and my partner are going to do. We're going to look at all these cases and really be able to take the time to go back through them, to break them down, pull them apart, and hopefully get some justice for some of these victims that are out there.
Yeah, okay. So you said what? How many cases you guys working in that unit, you and your partner?
So, rough estimate, there's anywhere between 45 and 50 at least that I know of, and I'm sure there's a few other ones that I don't.
So walk our viewers through the process of cold case investigations. And what I mean is, if you and one other person have a stack of 50 case files, you're not just one by one going through them. Is it just every time you get a new tip, you focus on that case?
It could be. Sometimes you get phone calls from family members. Sometimes it could be an inmate that's currently incarcerated that says, hey, I know about an old murder. So as far as how we get up to our cases, sometimes it's just picking up an old file and reading through it. I don't think there's a set protocol on how we get our cases and which ones get opened up and which ones, are top of the list. I think you kind of have to roll with whatever kind of comes your way. When I first read Jennifer's case, like I said, there were some things that jumped off. So if there's stuff that I feel like, or my partner feel like we can run down, and we'll do it. But we might have 2 or 3 other cases going on at the same time.
But some of them have to look to you as more solvable than others. You
Absolutely.
pick up the file and say, I can do something with this.
I think that, part of doing this is you have to triage the case, and you see, what's in the case, and then you kind of make the determination, hey, I really think this one can go, this one's solvable, or hey, this one's going to take a little bit longer. Doesn't mean that we don't keep working on it, but now that technology has come so far with DNA testing and even fingerprint technology has there's things that we can do now that 5 years ago you couldn't do. And going through evidence in these cases, this is not just myself and my partner working these cases. I have we have a great relationship with our forensics people in Anderson County, and there's a lot of conversations that are had on, hey, this is the case I'm working on. What do we have as far as evidence? And you might find something that was collected, 10 years ago that was never tested, or back then they told them they couldn't test it. Well, now technology has come so far. Something that was untestable 10 years ago, now you can send off and you're getting results. So there's a lot of play, there's a lot of give and take to these cases, but at the end of the day, you still have to be the police. You still have to. There's some boots on the ground element to this. It's not all technology based, and there is a human aspect to this where you do have to go out in the community. You have to talk to people. You have to talk to witnesses, friends of friends. So I think there's a balance to it. It's a little new age science and all that, but a lot of old school police work too.
You know, that leads me right into our next point of emphasis is how the community can help. We talked a little bit off camera before this. You know, you said maybe 20 years ago somebody didn't want to talk. They didn't maybe at that time didn't trust police, didn't trust detectives. Times have changed. How can people help right now? What do you need from the public?
So with the public, no detail is too small. I want to hear any detail that you guys may have. Don't think, oh, this might be irrelevant. That's going to be my job, my partner's job, to sort through all this. Don't not call us because you think it's a minute detail or anything. With these cases, a lot of minute things end up becoming a big thing. And every little piece that we can put together, we want it. They can go to the Anderson Area Crime Stoppers website. You can leave a tip, you know, without leaving your name. You can be anonymous. You can also call 1-866-917-TIPS. That's for the Crime Stoppers. And then you can also call the Anderson County Sheriff's Office directly, 864-260-4400, and you can ask for me, you know, say, hey, I want to speak to the cold case guys. I need to speak to Detective Smith about a case, and we'll arrange to sit down with you wherever you are, wherever you feel comfortable. It doesn't have to be in our office. It can be at a coffee shop. It can be in a mall. It can be in a parking lot. It can be in the middle of a field.
You will make
care.
time for tips.
We don't care where it is. You can tell me we got to be there at 10 o'clock at night, and we'll figure it out, and we'll make it work. We just urge anybody, if you have information on any case, and obviously we're highlighting Jennifer and you know, but this is for any case. If you have information on a homicide, please reach out. Like I said, it's not what people think. People think that you come and talk to the police and we walk around with a sign and so-and-so gave us information. That's not how this works. And
Bill is talking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that, you know, you have some of that dated thinking that still goes on. Mm-hmm. There's, you know, we just want the information. And if you're not comfortable doing it at your house, fine. We can arrange it, and we can, you know, do it however you feel comfortable.
And do you think somebody out there knows something about this Jennifer Lawson case?
I do. I think that there was way too many people out there. This party was way too big. Yep. Somebody knows something. Mm-hmm. Somebody either has a detail about the individuals that showed up, mm-hmm. about the vehicle, or has now since heard something. Hey, I heard my cousin or my friend talk about this girl that got killed down in Belton. There was way too many people out there for us not to have somebody or multiple people come forward and want to help bring justice to Jennifer and her family.
And I'm just glad for the first time, at least in my recollection and the research I've done, and I was a reporter here when this happened and barely remember this case. Yeah. At least we're talking about Jennifer Lawson. She deserves that. Yes. She deserves attention. And frankly, as you've said, Corey, she deserves answers as to who fired that shot.
She absolutely does. Again, she was a 29-year-old girl. She still had her whole life ahead of her. You know, in speaking to family, you know, she was a loved member of her family. She was a loving member of her family. I think, you know, we know what happened. I think we need to know why this happened and who did this.
Who did it.
All right. Yeah. Corey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Anderson County Sheriff's Office. Let's get this case solved, guys. And we'll be live on WSBA Plus weekly. So be sure to stay tuned for that and send in those tips. Crime Stoppers, send them in to us. We can forward them over to the Sheriff's Office too. We really, really want to get this solved. All right. Thanks for watching.